I think immigration is actually important, but we need to have an orderly immigration plan. And again, this is going to be the shocker right here. The immigration that we're seeing right now is actually good. And trust me, don't turn the channel. I got a point to make. Right now, the world is in an extreme population decline. You have countries like Russia, China, Japan. They have so many people that they're losing daily. For example, in China, one of the things that makes an invasion of Taiwan even more likely now is because thanks to China's one baby policy, obviously they forgot to count on one thing, and that was technology to improve the ability to feed their people. They're going to go from 3, 4 billion people to less than what the United States has right now by the year 2050, 2060. Unbelievable. They will not have the armed forces necessary to take Taiwan by that time frame. So that is something that is seriously on the mind of the leaders in China. Additionally, the women that are in China now, as a result of this crazy one child policy, obviously back then everybody wanted a boy because they want the family name to be passed down. But the women that are available in China, they don't want children because they have their careers. They're a more wealthy, prosperous country now. They don't have to rely on a family or a husband or whatever. It's just really a mess that they're in. Japan is in a similar situation, not because of a one child policy, just because they're not having kids. We have the same problem here in the United States. People that look like me, just normal Americans, especially white Americans, they're just not having kids. They're just not having kids. A lot of people, when they come to America after a generation or so, they become wealthier, they become more prosperous. And statistically, the more educated a woman is, the more prosperous individuals are as a whole, the less children they have. But thankfully, the United States is not going to have that problem because of immigration. And one last point about Russia. Russia is in such dire straits for population. That's one of the reasons Putin invaded Ukraine. Did you notice on TV you hear about their children being taken and brought into Russia? There's a reason for that. It's not because he loves children. He's trying to increase his population
Hmm.
any way he can. Russia is such a big country. It requires 1.1 million to 1.2 million soldiers just to repel its borders,
Hmm.
just to secure the homeland. They are concerned in the near future, the next 30 to 50 years, they may not have the soldiers necessary to protect their homeland. And
Hmm.
again, America is not going to have that problem thanks to our immigration policies coming in. But again, it has to be controlled immigration. And I apologize if I come across something like a woke liberal. That was not my intention. But on this program, I tell you the good, bad, the ugly. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, or whatever. I just tell you the way I see it, and I let it fall where it may. What do you think about that?
I think there is some value to cohesiveness. If you're poor, you much rather be around people that you know than people that you don't know. And I think that bringing all these different groups of people in here is bound to be trouble. Yeah, I think I told you I go by the DC migrant shelters, and many of the blacks and the whites that were once there, primarily blacks, have been displaced, and I'm sure that causes a lot of anger. So I can't necessarily see how that's good for the United States, even if it allows us to have a higher birth rate, um, because of the disunity and the lack of cohesion. But I'm willing to consider your argument, though.
Well, that is interesting you brought that up. Do you think effectively, I guess you're talking about assimilation. Do you think assimilation is a problem? Whether it's Hispanic or black or white or whatever, do you see that problem? Because
Yeah.
personally, I've only seen that like with, frankly, Muslim individuals coming over here. They generally have more of a difficult time assimilating into our society. And that is a concern I have about that segment of the population immigrating over here. And Europe has that problem right now. Just go visit Germany. That I believe it was Merkel. She allowed in 1 or 2 million
Mhm.
East Asian Muslim individuals into immigrants into her country, and they have some serious problems right now. It's just like you said, there's not that assimilation. They're not turning into one cohesive country. What do you think? You think that's all people?
Yeah, well, I think in America, if you want to cut hair, for instance, something very simplistic is being a barber. There are licenses and certifications. Well, you go in in front of the migrant shelters or in parts of the cities where there are a lot of migrants now, you'll see them cutting hair on the street corners. Same thing with cooking food. New York City is pretty much gotten rid of all regulations as to where and how and who can serve food. And that's very unfair to the people who follow the rules and get the licenses and certifications to serve food. And those type of things you do see a lot. You see the crime, the robberies, things like that the migrants are bringing. And yeah, I don't think the assimilation is there.
I do agree with you about the crime and some of the immigrant crime that's going on. I will say for a fact, I know, for example, in Venezuela, my girlfriend is Venezuelan. She had one of her friends here not long ago visiting, and she's like, "Hey, we basically have no crime back in Venezuela." When you hear President Trump talk about the insane asylums, their prisoners, whatever, has have left Venezuela, that is not BS. That's true. That is exactly what is going on. You have a situation in Venezuela right now where you're probably very safe in Venezuela. All the criminals have came here to America, and you have a lot of this going on where they're going to New York, committing the crimes, and then maybe coming to Florida to spend the money because they know if they do that stuff here, Governor DeSantis means business. It's not like an Alvin Bragg where you can attack the police and then you can just go about your business. They take that stuff serious. So
Yeah, there was a ring in New York that was busted, very similar to what you're talking about, in that they were robbing people for cell phones and shipping and flying them down to Florida. Some probably an international ring of cell phones, and that happens a lot in New York. So you're definitely right. And those kind of crimes, typical Americans don't have an international connection to sell cell phones. So the crime didn't exist until you bring in a lot of these migrants.
sounds good. John, we're going to land the plane here at this point. Do you have any final words or thoughts you want to get off your chest? I want to thank you for being here with us. Is there anything you'd like to say to our viewers or anything?
Oh, no, great show, JR. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
All right, great. Well, stand by 1 second. Folks, I do want to take this time and thank John Galt one last time. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate each and every one of you being here. It's always a pleasure when you take time to hear what I have to say and have a conversation with you about what's going on in our world. And it's my fondest hope that at some point we can be in a better place. It's really just that simple. Don't forget to tell your friends about our channel. We have to ward off and fight this indoctrination. Be sure to share this video. Like, subscribe. You're still with me. You might as well. Folks, I always say, keep that mind free. Never give up. And until next time, I am JR.